From days of long ago, from uncharted regions of the universe, comes a legend. The legend of Voltron, defender of the universe. A mighty robot, loved by good, feared by evil. As Voltron...
Y'all ready for chips?
Is going down. We got to turn over some stones.
Nice car, dickhead!
Fuck you!
The memo has no impact on the Russia probe.
Not to me, it doesn't, and I was pretty integrally involved in the drafting of it. There is a Russia investigation without a dossier. So to the extent the memo deals with the dossier and the FISA process, the dossier has nothing to do with the meeting at Trump Tower. The dossier has nothing to do with an email sent by Cambridge Analytica. The dossier really has nothing to do with George Papadopoulos' meeting in Great Britain. It also doesn't have anything to do with obstruction of justice. So there's going to be a Russia probe even without a dossier.
But it's important to understand why law enforcement did not do something and why prosecutors did not do something. I'm not interested in relitigating the FBI's decision not to charge Secretary Clinton. That decision's been made, it's been explained, and I'm not interested in relitigating it. I am, however, interested in reviewing 2016 and 2017 with respect to the Department of Justice.
Who are evaluating her emails, but my interests.
Sidney Blumenthal sent to the Secretary of State. I don't care if he sent it by Morse code, carrier pigeon. Sidney Blumenthal sent to the Secretary of State. I don't care if he sent it by Morse code, carrier pigeon, smoke signals. The fact that he happened to send it by email is irrelevant. What is relevant is that he was sending information.
Motion has been seconded.
Well, we're not going to take that up at a hearing. We'll take that up in a business meeting.
I've consulted with the parliamentarian, and they have informed us that we have a right to a recorded vote on that motion. We want, you ask for the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Well, that's what we want to have. Let the world see it.
What?
And you guys get along, Elijah Cummings, because that was
we only fight when the camera's on.
Oh, come on. And you guys get along, Elijah Cummings, because that was
we only fight when the camera's on. Her husband's administration hired me to be a federal prosecutor, so it wasn't the Republicans, it was the Democrats that hired me.
Well, I don't know why that's funny. I mean, did you have any in-person briefings? I don't find it funny at all.
Whether or not they could have gotten there in time, I don't think there's any issue with respect to that.
Well, Dana Chipman said from the beginning that nothing could be done to save the 4 Americans in Benghazi in September of 2012. Is that true?
No, sir. Dana, whether or not they could have gotten there in time, I don't think there's any issue with respect to that.
Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
To suggest that Mueller should shut down and that all he is looking at is collusion, if you have an innocent client, Mr. Dowd, act like it. Russia attacked our country. Let Special Counsel Mueller figure that out. And if you believe, as we found, there's no evidence of collusion, you should want Special Counsel Mueller to take all the time and have all the independence he needs.
And now he's telling us, look, Trump was never the target of this investigation. That's very slippery, like a slip-and-fall lawyer. Of course Trump was the target of the investigation. They just haven't found anything on Trump. You think Manafort was the target of the investigation? Or Gates? Or Papadopoulos? Or Lieutenant General Flynn? When we talk about Trump world, the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, the Trump presidency, who the hell do they think the target of this is? Now, That said, there's nothing on Trump, is there? But they'd like nothing more than to get something on Trump. Why do you think they're taking Manafort to the gallows day in and day out? Why do you think Mr. Gowdy, Mr. former federal prosecutor, they've interviewed virtually every single person who's ever worked for Donald Trump, whether in the campaign, the transition, or in his administration? Why is that, Mr. Gowdy? You're a former federal prosecutor. Why did they interview all those people? Why were several of them subpoenaed and appeared before the federal grand jury? Why did Trump, the Trump White House, Trump Inc., have to turn over hundreds of thousands of pages of information if they're not trying to get Trump, Mr. Gowdy, former federal prosecutor, of course? Did I mention that? I should continue to mention it.
Was there a spy?
That is not a term I've ever used in the criminal justice system. Undercover, informant, confidential informant, those are all words I'm familiar with. I've never heard the term spy used.
So when the president says Spygate, that's not there was no spy inserted into the campaign. Have you seen any evidence of that?
I have not. That's an espionage term.
That's not a law enforcement term. It was created. Oh, please, don't even bring up Trey Gowdy tonight. That idiotic comment that he made last night and this morning about everything was done by the book. This is ludicrous. This was a false narrative created by the FBI and the CIA to plant intelligence overseas with Americans who were then feeding it back to the United States in emails and phone calls, and the FBI took that information and used it to get a false narrative in front of the FISA courts to get warrants. This is disgraceful. You know what? When Trey Gowdy was briefed the other day, they did not get to see one single document. How can you possibly say the things that he has said in the last 24 hours without seeing any documents? This is ludicrous.
Find it out. I am even more convinced that the FBI did exactly what my fellow citizens would want them to do when they got the information they got, and that it has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
Take an example, the mob. Take an example, the mob. An informant's a guy who's been with the mob, been mobbed up for years and years and years, then he becomes an informant for the federal government. He informs on his former colleagues. A spy is somebody who is inserted into a situation and gathers information. This guy Halper, the Yale professor, he was not part of the Trump campaign. He was just asking questions. You know, it's like going up to the bar. I think the senior judicial analyst said on Fox, going up to the bar and talking to people. What's the big deal? He's reporting to the FBI. That's the big deal. All these phony civil libertarians